Hey guys, Ian here. Just wanted to talk a little bit today about how I got started with my water sports charter business and kind of what it takes to get your first few customers. So I've always known I've wanted to have my own business, and this naturally kind of came as like a first step and, good starter business, I think, since I've grown up around, water sports and boats and all that. I know it well. I love it. So it kind of made sense. So I was 19 when I decided to formally start this. So I'm going to be going into my third year now, my third full season. And I've learned a lot. I'm definitely still new to the game in a lot of ways, being that it's only year 3. But I'm over that initial first wave of getting started and getting customers and stuff like that. So I just kind of want to talk through basically what like the actionable steps that took place to kind of get the business set up, and then also just going through to actually getting that first set of customers out there and using your services to really get the ball rolling. So before I did any of the business stuff, I went and got my captain's license. So basically getting a captain's license just means you're getting a little bit higher level license that allows you to take up to 6 people out on the boat for hire. And it's not that hard. It's basically like going to a driving school where you're gonna pay probably $1,000 and it takes a couple months. Mine was in a hybrid format, so part of it was online, part of it was not really much was in person, just the day of the test pretty much. But it took like 2 months. It's $1,000 and you got to study, but they really want you to pass. I wouldn't call it a guaranteed pass, but they're gonna help you along the way. So I got that, and that's basically going to be your very first step one that I would recommend getting out of the way before you even worry about LLCs and insurance and stuff like that. Another thing with that, the school is part of it and getting the passing the test, but account for plenty of time dealing with the paperwork side of it. So the Coast Guard's going to want drug tests. I think it's called a TWIC card, transportation worker credential, like logs of your boat time, which are pretty easy. But that's something that you want to just kind of have done and have out of the way before you get into the boating license, or not boating license, all the business stuff. I would just get that done with. So on the business side of it, I think my first step was basically Googling commercial insurance companies and just calling around to see if I would even be able to get something like this covered and figure out how much it was going to cost, because that was pretty much what I was most concerned about, was that end of it. So I began calling in October, the season before I started. So I found a person who I still use today who was, willing to cover this type of thing. And by the way, we do water sports instruction, boat charters, everything we do. We have captains running the boats, and it's like groups no bigger than 8 people, and we're on an inland lake. So we're not running, in Coast Guard territory, stuff like that. But yeah, so it was October. I got a hold of our insurance guy. Basically, he told me it was going to be about, I think, $3,000 to $4,000 to get this going. So at the time, I knew that was kind of going to be a leap of faith, but had to be done. And after I knew I was going to be able to get insurance, my next step was, okay, now we need to get a logo. I need to get an LLC, so I have a real business to work with here, and a website, and just kind of start working at those things. So after I knew I could get insurance, I think I started to take things a little more seriously and kind of was just visualizing what this kind of setup would actually look like, what I really wanted to do. At the time I was kind of wrestling with the idea of, you know, in the beginning of like any, at least there's a cat here, just caught me off guard. You know, in the beginning it's kind of that like mindset, like, you know, I'll take anything, just got to get going. So I was thinking of like doing just like regular boat rentals where people would take the boat for the day. And luckily I trashed that idea after just like thinking it through a little bit about how big of a pain in the ass that would be. So I kind of got narrowed down to, all right, let's focus on what I'm good at, taking people out on the boat, teach them to ski, wakeboard, take them tubing, out for a ride, whatever. You know, I know how to talk to people, I could, you know, run the boat, all that is, you know, I know it. So one of the next things I did was got our logo made up. And that was probably by, I think it was February I got that. So I wasn't off to the quickest start that winter, but that was done by kind of a family friend. It wasn't too expensive, you know, which was good. I went then, and the website was a big thing. I knew that I wanted a really nice website. Even if, you know, we're really small and everything, I wanted the website to look good. That had to be a thing. So I could talk about websites all day and what I've learned from starting knowing absolutely nothing. But I was getting some quotes from people around like $3,000 for like, I think that would have been, you know, a really nice website. Then I was getting other quotes from people, well, not even quotes, you know, you could go down to the bottom of the barrel with a shitty like Wix site, which it'll look okay, but it's just not where I wanted to be at. You know, some of those are free. So I ended up going with someone who was like $1,000, $1,200, I think. And if you're building a site, factor in, I'd say probably 2 or 3 months at least. One thing I've learned, even if you have someone who's really good at building a site, and maybe it's my fault with the communication too, but like what you picture in your head versus what they come up with is going to be different. And you can text back and forth, literally like, oh, we want this picture here, oh, that font's a little big, that font's a little small, and maybe it's just me being meticulous fuck, but that can take a long time. So I would say, if you're thinking of starting a business like this in the spring, make that one of your priorities to get going on, and, you know, really as soon as you can, just because it takes a little while, and website stuff can be tricky. All right, now that my website rant is over, sort of. So I knew I had insurance, you know, I was gonna be able to get insurance. I had a logo, website was in the works / built. This was around February. I also, at that point in February, filed with the state to start an LLC, which was gonna basically just registering your business name with the state and making it real. So I had like family friend lawyers trying to help me out and stuff like that. And I was going to different people that said they were gonna help me, basically until I found a guy who was pretty cool. I never really got any help there, and once he really explained it to me, he talked me through it on the phone. It took like 10 minutes. Basically, you go to, you know, Secretary of State website and just fill out some really basic stuff and pay your, you know, it's like $100 in Connecticut, but every state's gonna be different. Yeah, so that was in end of February. So at that point I had LLC done, logo done, website done. Then I started registering on like Google My Business, Yelp, making business pages, gathering up all the photos I had and asking people for photos just to kind of give, you know, this brand a little bit of life before we'd even really started. So once I was at this point where I actually had a real, you know, business on paper and the website and everything like that, then I kind of transitioned towards the spring to like a more just like boots on the ground marketing approach, I guess you'd call it. So I got brochures, I got business cards. I started basically messaging like all the Airbnbs and stuff like that on our lake, just to, you know, say, hey, I'm starting this, I'm gonna be in the area. Can I get you some brochures and stuff like that to put in? And a lot of people were cool and, you know, did take me up on it, and we still get customers from those today. So I think that's one good way to get things kicking. We have stuff hung up in delis. We've gotten customers that come out every week from a flyer and a Stop and Shop. So as big as it is to have, you know, your website, your Yelp, all that kind of stuff, I think just being really in your community and just talking to people everywhere you go is a way to drum up, you know, those first, could be 5 or 10 customers that are then gonna hopefully have a great time and each tell their friends. That'll lead you to another, you know, maybe if you get 2 customers each out of them, and that's how you kind of start getting that snowball effect. Another area that I would focus on if you're starting up is listing on third-party sites like BoatSetter and GetMyBoat.com. These are platforms that are more meant for like peer-to-peer rentals. So probably people who aren't like actually having their own legitimate business, but write up a really nice description and kind of hint around the idea that you do this for a living or have a captain's license, which is another point I could talk about. But they don't want you advertising your business on these sites, but you could word it in a way that that kind of gets the point across. And the good thing about those sites is they have their own marketing budgets. So if people are searching for a boat rental near your city or state or whatever, there's a good shot their site is going to pop up, which will then have your listing on it. That's another good way to kind of get things going a little bit, which will then lead to some customers. Honestly, for us, I think what really helped make that first push was just like being out in the community with the deli postcards, the brochures really close to the lake, reaching out to Airbnb owners, being listed on BoatSetter and those third-party sites. Also having the nice website, but having like the nice Instagram page or like the Facebook, it doesn't hurt. Like, you gotta have it, but that's really not what got us our first few customers. So again, I know every market's different. This is just my case and how it worked. But I guess what I'm trying to say is don't completely discount just kind of the old school ways of just going out there and talking to people and getting stuff printed up. Definitely still works, and I think that's a good solid way to start.